For me, it's not just self-care that's really important. We need to do that. But right now, at a very highly stressful time, it's also about self-soothing. And to self-soothe, we really need to go back to how we function as people, as humans. And we need to look at stimulating our five senses, which is really, really important. So touch, sight, smell, taste, those, your five senses are what's going to create that kind of primal soothing for you right now. Because this is a time when people can feel quite highly stressed, over aroused, combative, and frustrated. And so you'll feel a lot better if you can do things like listen to music, and anything that's kind of stimulating those senses, which I usually use lots of essential oils and, smells, things like that, and focus on exploring new foods and cooking, new music, new kind of creative things. Anything that stimulates me is going to make me feel a little bit more positive and also a lot calmer. So that really depends on what is good for you and finding things that are good for you. And another thing I wanted to talk about quickly, and I'll just go through it quickly because then you can start asking me some questions, is that idea of really staying connected. We are so disconnected. And I know some people are going to find that actually not as easy as you think. I see some people on video chat and there's 5 or 6 people and they're all having drinks and having a great time. Not all of us are really good at that kind of thing. Some of us are more introverted, so we're not going to necessarily initiate that. So if you feel that you can also connect to other people and in this circumstance try and connect in the way that suits you, that's really important to try and stay connected and to kind of avoid conflicts. I've been hearing friends of mine who are having arguments and fights and not speaking to each other and all these kinds of things. And someone was, saying that they had a good friend who they always spoke to, and then suddenly this person isn't contacting them anymore. And I said, now hang on a minute. Look, there are no normal responses here. You don't know if this person is freaking out and in the fear zone and not coping very well, and when that happens they're not going to connect to you. So it is a lot of just being a little patient with each other and being patient with yourself. And the last thing that I'm just going to go through before I get to questions is what will save you. What will save you is really putting in a routine. And I know that sounds like, routine, but it really does make a difference when you're stuck in the home in this isolation. We normally have a routine for work. We get up, we get dressed, we do this, we come home, then we watch our Netflix and we brush our teeth and go to bed. It's actually really important in this nothingness, this timeline of, is it Saturday, is it Thursday, to kind of have a routine. Staying in your pajamas till 3 o'clock in the afternoon is probably not going to make you feel good after about 2 weeks of doing that. So it is really good to get up. I know myself, I've been throwing on a bit of perfume. Something so simple like that. Oh my God, I'm a normal human. I know in the first week, 2 weeks, I wasn't washing my hair. And then I went, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I'm starting to make a little bit more effort and I feel a lot better. So it is kind of trying to get back to maybe some normal routines. But the routine is really important. And why it is important is because it's about creating boundaries. So if you create a really good schedule, like now I'm working, now this is dinner time, maybe put the activities you want to do around meal times, closer to meal times. And then you've got the time that you're going to spend with your loved ones and time you're going to spend with your kids. And everybody kind of, particularly kids, they love that because then they know what to expect. And people know when they're going to get your time if you're having to work from home. or you're just trying to create some time for yourself at home as well. So kind of putting in those boundaries is really good, and putting in a routine is really good, where you structure your day, and it just kind of makes it all a little bit, it kind of really protects your mental health enormously when we don't have a sense of being in control of our day, or what is our purpose, or what we're looking forward to, or someone not knowing when they're going to be able to have time with us, or when we're going to have time for ourselves. We're going to everything's going to be chaos, and we're going to feel overwhelmed. So definitely those are some key ideas. And I can give you guys very direct strategies. If you ask me a question, I will give you a very direct answer on how you can actually do that. The last thing before I hand back over to you, Landy, is you are creative individuals. I'm presuming you're all creative, in the creative filmmaking field, and that is your strength. So for me, one of the biggest aspects of coping is using our personal strengths. Write down, what are my personal strengths? Write down what that is. It can be something like, I'm very objective, or I'm very observational of things. I notice things about people, or I'm good at organizing, or I'm good at perceiving something, or good at tennis, good at swimming, good at whatever. You're good. What are your strengths? And those are the things that you are going to lean on to cope. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, go back to things that you're strong at and apply them into a kind of an area that you can then do. For me, if it's perception, I quite like reading books, or investigative books, or things where I have to solve something or solve a puzzle, and be kind of perceptive and intuitive about that. So use your kind of personal strengths. If you're good at organizing, use those with your family and your friends. Lean on your strengths, because right now it's our strengths, and really creating some solution-focused strategies that fit our lifestyle, that fit us, and that fit the people that we live with, so that it's a very kind of cohesive rather than combative kind of at-home isolation environment. I know I've rambled quite a bit and said quite a lot there in all that, and so after saying all that, I'm going to hand over to Yolandi to ask some questions, particularly about how we can kind of make the isolation time a little bit more bearable in the actual home.
Yes, Steph, because I was thinking the same thing. The last few weeks, I felt so lost, like I'm floating in the air, and I can't find a place to put my feet. It's like everything is just all over the place. And I'm still working, so for me to have felt like that, I thought, other people would probably feel that even more. But I think you're right in saying that having that routine will give you some stability. And since I've started to do that, it is helping a lot. But I was wondering, because I know exercise is a very good thing to do as well in this sort of situation, and mental health. Where do you see exercise fit into this whole bigger picture?
Well, I think, as you know, Yolandi, I recently did my back. And that is actually because I'm a swimmer, so they shut the pools down. So obviously I'm having to actually now, when my back heals, adjust to a different kind of exercise thing. So you do have to kind of look at, what do you think you can do around the home? What is going to work for you? I know some people are dancing to music at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That may not be your thing. It is about finding something that you feel good about. So what do you like doing? What does your body like doing? Because it's really important for you, Yolandi, to do something that not only is exercising, but actually brings you pleasure. Sometimes like lying on the ground and rolling on the ground, just you know how that feels, that sense of when you're on grass or you're on the ground and you can feel the weight of the ground on your back, but it's actually stimulating all of the sensory points in your body. And that's really, really important, because some of us aren't getting touched. So for people who aren't getting touched, I say, if you can order online, get a body mitt, or get on the ground and roll, even use a tennis ball or something, so you feel something up against yourself. Get tactile with soft, comforting rugs and things, very tactile things. So what would you say, Yolanda, you like to do? Like, what kind of movement or exercise do you think you could do around the house that you'd enjoy?
I don't enjoy any exercise. Probably dancing, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe dancing while I'm cleaning the house, or
What was a
stretching.
what was a happy moment when you were a kid? And what was a happy moment that you had just being physical? What was a happy moment where you were doing something, I don't know, that just brought you joy?
I think just running around in the backyard and playing and climbing up trees. I was that sort of kid. So
You just, I'll focus on the word you just said, which was playing. Like exercise doesn't have to be. I personally have never gone to a gym. I don't know if anyone else has a reaction to gyms. I'm one of those people. But so, if you can go, well, that kind of brought me joy, just playing. What can you do that brings you joy? Is it, we can now order things. Is it a ball, fitness ball?
yeah,
The fitness ball you get on and you roll around, and it's actually kind of almost childlike.
yeah,
Me.
yeah. Or those roll. I don't know what you call them. Like those people roll their legs on them.
Yeah, and in a way, what's wonderful about play and being childlike is it brings us back to ourself. Right now, anything that brings us back to nurturing ourselves, soothing ourselves, feeling ourselves, comforting ourselves is so important. This is going to be quite a few weeks, and by the time we get out of it, I am forecasting people will be quite stressed and traumatized. You do not underestimate how this can affect you. Do not underestimate that. So imagine, Yolandi, you've got one of those balls and you're lying on the ball and you're going, oh, this is great. And you're rolling around. I know I've used them before. You kind of slightly fall off, but it uses your body in a way that you're not usually use it as an adult. That's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Have fun and do something like that. And so it is kind of using your imagination. You're all filmmakers. I've written 3 things down here. Let me see. Insight. Using your intuition, your insight, your imagination. What makes me feel good? That's your intuition.
Mm.
Start really developing your self-awareness. You will do. I mean, I know people who've probably ever done any counseling or are aware of CBT therapy, and I have probably listened to any form of self-care, workshop. People will talk about journaling. Now, the point of a journal is actually creating some self-awareness, and it's that self kind of discovery as well. The thing is that if you're thinking, it goes around in circles, but the interesting thing is if you write something down and look at it, you actually create an objectivity. You're actually seeing what you've written, and that objectivity reflects back, and you kind of get some insights and some awareness of yourself. And what's good about that is that can really help you direct where you want to go right now, things you want to do, things you don't like, things that other people did. You can kind of track how you're feeling, write how you're feeling down. But it has another purpose. You guys are filmmakers. This is about narrative. We are at a time in the world that is absolutely historic. So to record this yourselves it will be an amazing thing. We can all create the story and the narrative of what we've experienced and what we've gone through. So it's kind of not just self-care, I'll do a journal, blah 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 blah. You can use it as a kind of a creative inspiration form as well. So it's win-win. It's got a kind of narrative, informative purpose, something you might be able to use in your storytelling if you're a writer or a filmmaker. And it's also got the other purpose that you're actually going to learn quite a bit about yourself, which will help you cope much better. With journaling, I've done it with people. It doesn't have to just be writing. You can take things from your walk and glue them in, leaves. You can draw, paint, color. It can be a whole visual, big, you know, if you're a visual designer or in costume or whatever, you know, if you're into storyboards, it can be a storyboard. You know, you can just get as creative as you want. You can bring the kids in, they can do their own, you know, and make the kids a real part of the day where it's creative.
Like a scrapbook.
Yeah, like a scrapbook, you know, and that will actually, at the end of it, you'll have something like, wow, this is amazing. Maybe 3 generations later,
Yeah.
kept in the family. But you know, I think it really does make you feel much better mentally to do something like that, because looking back and reflecting on your feelings and being able to express any form of self-expression, rolling on the ball, doing art, dancing, listening to music, talking to your friends, any form of being open and authentically yourself, and living in that. There's no right or wrong right
Yeah.
now. There is no right or wrong. Living in your authenticity right now, you will just get through this and you will feel so much better in the process of doing that. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. This is about you. Absolutely. 150% about you getting through. You do not have to create a novel. You don't have to create a film. You don't have to do this. If you're doing it, fantastic. If you're productive, fantastic. If you're not getting stressed and you're not getting overwhelmed and you're in productive mode, fantastic. But doing nothing and resting is okay.
That's good to know. But my worry is for myself.
Yeah.
I'm easy to call someone, strike up a conversation, message. But there's a lot of people that are not that comfortable, you know, more introverted people reaching out to others. What sort of advice do you think you have for people like that?
Who are more introverted?
Yeah, they can't just feel comfortable picking up the phone and calling and saying, "Hey, I'm feeling lonely. Do you want to chat?"
Well, it is difficult, and it is going to be a time when we're going to have to learn new ways and new habits. Um, it's a time when we are very isolated, so we are going to have to make a bit of an effort, you know, and actually make those connections. We can connect on different ways. It doesn't have to be how are you, what are you doing. You can connect and say, oh, what do you think of this song, or what do you think of this art, or have you seen this link to the NGV, you know, exhibition. You know, you can use an in if you're not quite sure how to connect to people. The question I have is, you know, also are these people friends? Are these people romantic people? Are these people family? Because obviously you're going to connect to people in a very different way depending on what that connection is. It is very difficult for people to be stuck home. Are you Yolandi on your own, or have you got your family?
No, I have my husband, so that's all good. But I do have friends who I normally contact, and I know that they will never take the first step to contact someone if,
Yeah.
you know, when they feel lonely. So I am worried about people like that.
Yeah, look, introverts are a little bit socially, they tend to be socially isolated anyway, because they tend to be a little bit uncomfortable. And certainly people like writers and things like that, they're going to be great with all that stuff. But
Yeah.
sometimes they're kind of introverted as well. So definitely being aware, if you've got any friends like that, I really encourage you to reach out to people. Um, we don't know if people are okay or not. People are really great at using the fine word, I'm fine, and not sharing. Now is a really good time to say, are you okay?
Yeah.
How are you doing? Ask questions, actually. Ask questions.
Questions like what sort of questions do you?
Well, you know, some introverts don't always like questions, but just, you know, how are you? You know, it doesn't have to be, if it's too direct saying how are you, and they feel a bit confronted by that, which sometimes introverts can be. You can say something like, how are you going with the change to your routine? Are you doing anything different? Have you found a way that works for you? Can you give me some tips? So in a way, get them to feel useful, or
give them to do the talking a bit more and giving the advice
you can
maybe.
make it not so much about them, but things that are peripheral to the time alone and isolated. Yeah, that would be what I would suggest. It is very difficult, and I think grandparents are obviously staying in touch, and kids is going to be a real challenge one. On the episode number 4, I'm doing one just for parents, but if anyone is a parent struggling with kids, please do still ask me what to do with them, because they're all going to start going feral very much about now. So yes, it is going to be a very tough thing. I'm just reading some of these questions.
Well, did you should we go over to Q&A, or do you want to
let's ask some questions? Let's do that.
I'll stop the recording then, so we don't share people's secrets.
Well, before you stop the recording, I do want to just make everybody aware that I am doing, it is a 4-part series. And so the first episode is Home Alone, where we're just tackling that social isolation. And then the next episode is going to be move on to more strategic areas of shifting gears from feeling overwhelmed and starting to go into, you know, what can we do while we're at home? What can we kind of get stuck into, different areas of that? And then the third one is going to be very much on the industry, where we're going to be looking at new online formats and production, and how we can still go from script to production and all those kinds of things. And I've been talking to a number of filmmakers and asking what they're actually doing. So we're going to be really talking filmmaking on that third one. And then the fourth one is going to be on parents and supporting homeschooling and tackling children's moods and behaviours at home. And so hopefully through the 4-part series, we will get through all the different challenges that everybody's facing during this time, during this very, very difficult time. And I'm very thankful to WIFT Virtual for having me on board at this time and being able to offer my services and help at this time. So it's great.
Yeah, and hopefully by that time we'll be back to normal, right?
Yeah.
I don't think so. But I think this is probably, WIFT virtually, something that we'll probably keep doing, you know, forward in the future. So there's are benefits that's coming out of this situation. We just have to see the silver lining.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. People are going to be, but remember, people are going to have different kind of takes on that. If you can get a silver lining, fantastic. If you can write a script, fantastic. But if you can just get your mental health to survive through to the end and come out the other side in one piece, fantastic.
Yeah, that's right.
Yay, go you. You know, hey, let's kind of you know, reward the little baby steps that we might have to do as well. And it is, you know, look, this is going to be 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. Just keep taking a step, keep taking a step. It's like the Kokoda Trail. We're going to get through to the other side. But we're here, I'm here. And anytime if anyone needs me, you know, this is why we're here, to give you guys some support.